Hello, Night City. We're back in Cyberpunk 2077 for the big next-gen update with patch 1.5. We're going to be going over the patch notes. This is going to be an extensive look at basically the patch notes and a lot of the game itself. So, be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. We're quickly just going to show off the video options for Series X, performance, 4K 60, and then we're going to have this ray traced mode, which does 4K 30 with ray tracing shadows and reflections. But we're not showing that. We're just focusing on this. We're going to have a dedicated video going over the Series X version of the game later on. So we get some free DLC, we get some new next-gen content, we get some additional fixes and everything to the game. So let's dive in. Next-gen exclusives. Added ray traced local light shadows. Implemented native achievement support on next-gen consoles. Note that as the next-gen version has a different SKU, PlayStation trophies obtained in the backwards compatible version will not be transferred. Xbox achievements will automatically appear on the new version using smart delivery, which makes logical sense. Introduced 2 graphics modes on PlayStation 5 and on Series X. We already had 2 graphics modes, at least I know that for sure on the One X, so that's interesting. We just also briefly mentioned those and showed those in the settings where you can change that. There is a performance mode which enables smooth gameplay at 4K 60, a ray tracing mode. So this ray tracing mode on the Series S, this version has no graphics mode selection and is default presented at 1440p with dynamic resolution scaling at 30 FPS. So it seems like Series S just kind of gets that quick option there. A little disappointing. Added performance improvements which significantly decrease the number of FPS drops and improve rendering quality. Balanced HDR to achieve parity across all platforms. Various visual quality improvements. Added activity cards for PS5. Added a Spanish voiceover support in the Americas. So apparently they're going to be doing there's some constraints on that one or something like that. Implemented support for spatial audio on PS5 for 3D audio enabled headphones and built-in TV speakers via PS5's Tempest 3D audio tech solution. So for context, Xbox already had the spatial audio option available within the game. So we've got dual sense adaptive trigger support. Haptic feedback is now customized based on in-game activity. The controller's built-in speaker is used for holo calls, text messages, and everything that happens in V's head. Ooh. Additional content. This additional content is available for players on all platforms. So apartments can now be rented with a one-time fee. When encountered in Night City or through the Easy States website, when accessed through V's computer in the Mega Building H10 apartment, they become available after completing the Playing for Time quest. It's possible to rent all apartments at the same time. All apartments share the same stash. Apartments available: Northside Watson, 5,000. Japantown Westbrook, 15,000. The Glen Haywood, 40,000. And Corporal Plaza City Center for 55,000. Additionally, now you can now customize V's starting apartment in Mega Building 10. So some interactions with the apartment provide a temporary buff. Take a shower applies the refresh stats for 1 hour. Refreshed allows you to regenerate health during combat. Health will regenerate on its own up to 60% of the maximum threshold. If you possess the regeneration perk, this increase in combat health regen rate by 20% and your health regen threshold by 20%. Go to sleep. Regenerates health and applies the rested status for 1 hour. Rested. Gain plus 20% skill XP. Brew coffee. Applies the energized status for 1 hour. Energized. Plus 25% max stamina, plus 30% stamina regen. Appearance customization. You can now tweak certain features of your appearance such as hair, makeup, piercing when using the mirror in any of your apartments and safe houses. It's free and you can do it as often as you like. Character customization also includes more makeup and hair color options. Who's the fairest of them all now? That's funny. What's new at Wilson's? You can check out the new items in Wilson's Second Amendment store in the Mega Building H10, or look for them while exploring Night City. 2 new weapons: the Dara Polytechnic Umbra, a power assault rifle, Budget Arms Guillotine, power submachine gun. 4 new weapon scopes: the Kang Taeju Long Scope, Tsunami Gaki Sniper Scope, Arasaka Kanasuga Short Scope, Handyman Short Scope. New type of weapon attachments: muzzle brakes. 10 new muzzle brakes, 5 for handguns. The RC7 Ifrit, the RC7 Liger, the RC7 Daibuk, the RC7 Kutrub, RC7 Babaraga. 5 for assault rifles and submachine guns: RC7 Aswang, RC7 Varkalok, RC7 Zaire, RC7 Yakai, and YRC7 Stroikoi. New poses in photo mode. We've added new poses in photo mode, including poses for Johnny Silverhand, only available in flashback scenes when playing as Johnny. Living City Combat AI. Multiple fixes and improvements to NPC melee and ranged combat AI and reactions, including taking cover, positioning, reloading, equipping weapons, dodging, blocking, and many others. Multiple improvements for dismemberment triggers, hit reactions, and death animations, adding greater impact to ranged and melee combat. Enemies are now much better at blocking and evading Kurzazikov attacks. The heavier the weapon, the easier it is to hit. The opposite is true for evading. Further diversification of melee and ranged combat behaviors for different factions: reckless, aggressive, balanced, defensive, and cautious. Followers now contribute more in combat, but can be defeated and temporarily disabled if they receive enough punishment. Numerous fixes and balance changes to the Netrunner combat, if that's something you do. Crowd improvements. Aggressive crowd behavior. Certain NPC archetypes can and will enter combat with a player when provoked by aiming, shooting, or fighting. Due to some technical changes, this change is not available on the previous generation of consoles. Ooh, interesting. Time skips affect the state of NPCs, as well as reset the state of devices, environments, and certain scenes. Improve crowd reactions, pathfinding, and despawning. Drive model. Introducing our all-new burnout mode. Hold gas plus brake to engage. Steer to rotate. The old system only allowed rotating on the spot. Now try modulating the inputs to see what you can do. Try brake stands, donuts, drifts, or heat up the tires to do drag race style racing at a launch. With a high grip boost, the system now works at higher speeds, so you can hit the brake with gas applied on corner entry to cause oversteer on most cars. Keyboard users can optionally use the new secondary bindings on the arrow key. Some keyboards ignore the third key press when using WASD, but gamepads allow the most control of the system. A gamepad in general provide the driving experience preferred by the vast majority of players. Interesting. New braking system produces consistent performance front to rear across all speeds. ABS simulation added. All vehicle brakes have been tuned to the new model. Engine simulation improvement. Clutch simulation added. These changes improve resistance forces when the engine is shifting, helping to remove unwanted wheel spin events. Gearbox simulation improved. Much improved downshifting behavior. Transmission now realistically downshifts and has smarter shift logic to keep the engine in its sweet spot. Forward reversing shifting has been totally redone, allowing for J-turns and Rockfords. Motorcycles improved. All of the above improvements help to make them even more stable. Additionally, steering wheel improvements have been added and they have been returned. Tune improvements to various cards. The Quadra Type 66, all models, especially the Avenger. Mitsutani Shion, especially the MZ2. Hera Outlaw, Major Pass, and Base Mai, all had steering improvements implemented and more. Added adjustments to first-person perspective to all vehicles that needed it. In addition, Nomad vehicles with the Crystal Dome technology now digitally emit objects obscuring view. That's cool. Vehicle traffic, visual improvement to traffic movement. Turning in suspension, panic reaction to danger. Traffic now has the ability to drive away in panic from danger. NPC passengers now die from car crashes. Reactions to fender benders. Vehicles now have a wider range of reactions to being bumped into and will recover and return to traffic more smoothly. Gameplay balance. Various changes related to the economy, including increased rewards from jobs and open world activities, and decreased prices for vehicles and cyberware. Rebalanced and improved functionality of clothing mods. Adjusted the amount of modification slots available on clothing items. Categorized the mods to fit only specific clothing items. As a result, all equipped mods were moved back to your inventory. Go to the inventory to re-equip them in accordance with the new rules. The easy game difficulty is now moderately more challenging. Introduced 2 new stats replacing evasion, mitigation chance, and mitigation strength. Mitigation chance determines how often the player has a chance to reduce incoming damage. Mitigation strength determines the percentage by which the damage is reduced, 50% by default. Components that use to increase evasion now affect mitigation. For example, the reflexes attribute perks such as Mongoose Vanishing Point, Human Shield, some clothing mods, and cyberware, and more. Rebalance damage over time effects, generally reducing primary damage effects such as burning, bleeding, and poison. Reduced chance to disrupt the trajectory of smart bullets by Tiger Claw's glowing tattoos ability. Added a quieter way to escape the NCPD when the heat is on. Instead of fleeing a certain distance from the most recent crime scene, V can opt to hide within the search area, although it will take longer for the police to stop working. So that's an interesting adjustment mechanic. Cyberware. It is now possible to sell unused cyberware at the Ripper Dock Cooldown duration is now properly described in the tooltip of the Blood Pump Cyberware, made it possible to interrupt the revealing position hack by damaging the Netrunner or by having immunity from self-ice cyberware. Activating Berserk will now double stamina instead of granting an infinite amount. Tranquilizer rounds in the projectile launch system no longer affect non-human NPCs. Reduce the ricochet number of legendary ballistic coprocessor to 1, but grants a 50% bonus to ricochet damage. Trajectory generator Karashi optics mod has been changed to threat analysis and now grants a 2% mitigation chance. Mitigation grants a chance to reduce incoming damage by a percentage indicated by the mitigation strength, 50% by default. Increased duration of optical camo cyberware for V from 5-10-15 to 10-15-15 per rarity level. Added the optical camo ability for some NPCs. Even with optical camo actives, the players will now be visible while grappling an enemy. Fixed an issue where it wasn't possible to equip some cyberware mods. Combat. Numerous optimizations to combat AI resulting in an overall improved combat experience. Numerous fixes and improvements were made to reduce interruptions and smoothen NPC animations in combat, including attack, death, equip weapon cover, hit reaction, reload, block, and dodge animations. You can expect more consistent feeling of impact and crowd control from weapons as well as more spectacular visuals. Enemies will now correctly reposition to more tactically advantageous positions. Increase follower shooting accuracy. Reduce explosion damage dealt to the player. Fix cases where NPCs from the same group or faction didn't join the combat when they witnessed their comrades fighting. Fix an issue where nearby NPCs didn't display a proper hit reaction when hit with a grenade upon entering combat. Enemy shotgunners will now attempt to clear or keep a closer distance to the player during combat. Added some visual effects to the combat stims used by enemies. Enemies equipped with combat stims will use them only when their health is below 30%, reducing their overall stimulant usage. Increased visual complexity of enemy behavior in low frame rate mode. Fix an issue when combat was triggered while roaming. Fix an issue where the player could be knocked down by a hammer attack despite the weapon not reaching them. Significantly sped up switching between melee and ranged weapons for NPCs that can use both. Quick hacking. It is no longer possible to apply the Cyber Psychosis quick hack on Cyber Psychos. Fixed an issue where deactivating camera with a quick hack wouldn't interrupt enemy quick hack upload when the camera in question was used as a connection proxy. Fixed cases where a hacked status effect could remain on V permanently, preventing Netrunners from hacking V again. Fixed an issue where in some cases the whistle quick hack didn't cause NPCs to approach V's position. That's funny. Items and devices. It is now possible to turn devices on and off while carrying a body. Fixed an issue where the elevator door animations did sometimes not display properly, causing the player to see beyond world boundaries. Bonus items found in Stash. 2 DLC jackets plus 4 registration rewards have new functionality. For now on, these items will increase their rarity after performing a certain amount of upgrades. Added a base crafting spec for each item, rare quality. The player's list of available crafting specs on existing saves will be updated properly to accommodate this change. We're now on to NPCs. Lower the health of opponents in Beat on the Brat, except for the twins. They can now block and or evade attacks, so their difficulty is based more on skill. Woodman now prefer using the same Ajax rifle that he drops as loot. He was demoted from a boss to a standard enemy. That's funny. Fixed NPC behavior during Sasquatch, Oda, Atom Smasher, Royce, and Beat on the Brat boss fights. Fixed an issue where enemy NPCs couldn't break V's guard in melee fights. Fixed clipping in V's and NPCs aerial takedowns. Spin and kick melee attacks are now only allowed on fast, agile enemy archetypes. Cold Blood experience will no longer be awarded when dispatching enemies while having no Cold Blood effect active. The amount of Cold Blood experiences granted for dispatching enemies increases with the amount of active Cold Blood stacks. Fixed clipping when grappling enemies from a crouched position. Enemy shotgunners now deal more damage. Enemies are less likely to attack V while V is performing a finisher. Increased damage dealt by sniper NPCs. Snipers will now be able to shoot when backing away from their target. Disabled tripping over bodies for V's companions. Rebalance NPC stamina. NPCs crushed by a vehicle that are unable to recover will die after some time. Fixed V's death animation that play while grappling an NPC. Fixed an issue where security bouncers and police NPCs could have a bounty on them. Fixed some instances of NPCs T-posing. Fixed an issue where NPCs with the ability to apply status effects weren't able to do so. Added a 15% health debuff for enemies that have the Krasinnikov ability to compensate for more successful dodging. Perks. Rebalanced various perks and moved some of them in the skill tree. As a result, all of the perks you spent were reset. Go to the perk screen to reassign your perk points for free. Redesign the following perks: Blood Swell, Human Shield, Amorphosis, I think that's right. Yeah, anyways, Cold Blood, Coldest Blood, Cutthroat, Coldest Blood. Added new perks replacing some older ones. Due to the above mentioned changes, we renamed the stealth skill tree to ninjutsu in order to better reflect the perks it contains. Made the bonuses dynamic for 200% efficiency, field technician, and cutting edge. They are now applied to already crafted weapons and clothes. Respecting perks removes the bonuses correctly. Yeah, respecting perks removes the bonuses correctly. There we go. Player mechanics. V is now able to vault, climb, jump, sprint through the glass that has been fractured. Fixed an issue where disposing a body into a crate could move V into walls or out of bounds. Vehicles. Fixed an issue when summoned vehicles could spawn within each other, resulting in either shattered to pieces or being launched into air. That's funny. Fixed an issue where hijacking a car with a hostile NPC inside caused them to clip through a roof and remain inside a vehicle. Fixed an issue where vehicles could be frozen in the air after loading a save file. Now they are just regular, boring cars that fall down. Weapons. Reworked throwing knives. Knives are not lost after each throw, but automatically return to V's hands after a cooldown time, dependent on knife rarity. It's also possible to pick up thrown knives, resetting the cooldown. The Stinger Iconic Knife now scales properly to V's level when obtained. Sped up smart gun projectiles on different weapons to the same value as in the Kang Teo G58 Dian for a better feeling of impact and speed. Increased silence gunshot sound range from 3 to 8 meters. The stamina cost reduction while attacking stat on melee weapons works correctly now. Crunch, Cold Shoulder, and Pax weapon mods will increase weapon damage by a percentage value. The level requirement of melee weapons will now increase with each upgrade. Note, the level of upgraded melee weapons will be adjusted as a result of this change. The equipped items which exceed the level requirement can continue being used, but if unequipped, we'll have to wait until the level is reached again to be used again. The DR5 Nova obtained during the Stadium Love quest has stats properly balanced to V's level. The Crusher is no longer a viable weapon to use during the shooting competition in the Shoot to Thrill quest. Added aim assist to the bottles in Cassidy's challenge in We Gotta Live Together to make it easier to beat with a gamepad. UI changes. Various map usability improvements related to resizing icons, adding new tooltips and filters. This includes a dynamic filter based on zoom level as well as a custom filter which can be configured by the player. Redesign the skip time interface. It makes switching between different parts of the day easier and shows predicted time. Updated graphics for various scopes as well as increased clarity and new animations. Improved readability, consistency, and visuals in the UI panels, notifications, and pop-ups. Added a new notification with the song's name when it starts playing on the radio. The name of the vehicle will now be shown on the HUD when getting in. Items placed in your stash will now have proper stats displayed in their tooltips. Adjusted the crosshair for knife throwing. Added a buff stack counter next to the health bar to show how many stacks of a certain status effect are active. Improved D-pad navigation on various screens and paddles. Added missing description for Wakako's database entry. I fought the law, improved the interface of the electrical box to give more feedback when interacting with it. Fixed an issue where mouse cursor didn't scale properly in different resolutions. Fixed an issue where the fast travel destination area appeared before the loading screen. No more spoilers. Chumba? I don't know. Fixed an issue where brackets of tutorial windows could be visible in menus. Fixed an issue where the game could freeze if a shard was read directly from the loot container and immediately close afterwards. Fixed an issue where the loading indicator could get stuck on the screen. And now we're moving on to quests. There's a lot of quests. Added a few secrets in Night City to be discovered by players due to some technical challenges. This change is not available on previous gen consoles. Extended the romances with Panam, Carrie, River, and Judy. Yeah, new messages and interactions. Added interactions in the homes of love interests, including sleeping in the bed with a given partner. It is now possible to mute the NCPD dispatcher and fix their brief/debrief holo calls. This automatically skips the calls and sends you text messages instead. Thank you. You can customize this feature settings, gameplay holo calls. By default, the NCPD dispatcher is muted and fixers are unmuted. Players are now able to reject non-essential holo calls. There will be a prompt on the screen allowing them to reject. If they reject the call, they will receive a text message instead. Improve the holo call system to prevent multiple holo calls from stacking if the first call loads too slowly. Enhance Night City nightlife by making music in the clubs a bit louder. Fix an issue where the distorted visual effect could persist after coming back from cyberspace. Fix an issue where River would instantly hang up after calling him. How rude. Automatic love. Fixed cases where Lizzie's bar was closed during hours it should be opened. Beat on the Brat. Separate journal entries for each fight will now appear only after finding them. Beat on the Brat. V will no longer be able to equip previously dropped weapons during fistfights. Beat on the Brat. The Glen fixed an issue where, despite letting L. Caesar keep his car, he was messaging V asking if they took care of it. Coin-operated boy. Theo will no longer be despawned during the Talk to Theo objective. Disaster piece. Fixed an issue where V was unable to get in the van to talk to Judy after obtaining XPD. Dress to kill. Fixed an issue where Thornton Colby car was missing. Epistrophe. Separate journal entries for different domains will now appear after finding them. Epistrophe. Added new comments for the Delmain cab after finishing the quest and selecting Liberate or Merge option. X Factor. Fix the case of Judy never calling to start the quest. X Factor. Fix an issue where Judy didn't spawn at the Cloud's balcony, blocking quest progression. X Factor. If the player didn't loot Maiko's death and Tax's pistol during the quest, it can now be found somewhere else. I fought the law. V can no longer wait inside River's car while an important scene with Detective Han plays. Killing in the name. When hacking the route, the minigame will be displayed properly, even in cases where V doesn't have a cyber deck equipped. Life during wartime. Fixed an issue where the scan the tracks objective could change location. Map Tan Pelin. Fixed an issue where NPCs in the butcher shop didn't spawn, blocking further progression. Map Tan Pelin fixed a rare case of Placide being even more grumpy than usual and refusing to talk to V at Roland's. Off the leash. Some fans at the Carrie and Us Cracks concert weren't happy to see other people copying their outfits, so they got changed. Pisces fixed an issue that could prevent V from leaving Hiromi's apartment if they called someone during the elevator ride to the maintenance floor. Riders on the Storm fixed an issue where under certain circumstances it wasn't possible to talk to Pan Am and Mitch. Search and Destroy fixed an issue where the main quest didn't appear after completing the quest. Sweet Dreams. Quests will no longer reappear in the journal with the Talk to Stefan objective if Stefan's brain dance was refunded after V initially rejected the offer. The information had a choice to skip the brain dance tutorial sequence. Thank you. These boots were made for walking. V's old car will no longer be missing. With a little help from my friends, fixed an issue where Pan Am wouldn't call to start the quest after Riders on the Storm. And the fun doesn't stop there. Open world. V now has standing with fixers throughout Night City. New fixer gigs will appear gradually in sets as your standing increases, and a fixer will offer you another set of gigs only after the previous set is completed in a given district. Completing all the gigs for a fixer will earn you a special reward, excluding Mr. Hands. Sorry, he just doesn't like you, Chum. To see the progress of your standing with a fixer, hover over the icon on their map and check the completed gigs. Crowds and communities in Night City are now more diverse during the day and at night, increased occurrences, and added more variety of conversations in all districts. Assault in progress in Treasure Hill fixed an issue where it wasn't possible to pick up evidence. Assault in progress on Corporal Plaza fixed an issue where the quest could be blocked if the player collected evidence before visiting Haywood. Assault in progress on Kabuki fixed an issue where this activity would reappear on the map after completing the Prophet Song. Gig, breaking news, fixed an issue where the truck would fall underground, blocking further progression. Note the vehicle will now spawn after getting close to the garage, despite the marker pointing below the ground. Gig, family heirloom, fixed an issue where the gig didn't trigger when approaching the marker and was stuck on undiscovered. Gig, freedom of the press, quest will no longer fail upon entering the TV studio building. Gig, pointing away party, fixed an issue where the car spawned underground if you encountered the issue. You may need to start escorting Flavio in order for the car to spawn. Gig, guinea pigs. There's a guinea pig quest. Fixed an issue where the elevator inside the hotel was closed, blocking further progress. Gig, life's work. Fixed an issue where the car didn't spawn or spawned incorrectly. Gig, the Lord giveth and taketh away. This EV will now spawn properly. Reported crime, paranoia. It's now easier to climb the building and reach the stash. Cyberpsycho sightings. Smoke on the water fixed an issue where search the van optional was the only objective left and couldn't be completed. We're getting close to the end game, guys. Graphics, audio, animation, cinematic design. Improved water appearance and added water interactions. Ripples and splash effects will be produced during various events like collision and gunfire. Improved rain visual effect on vehicles' windows. Raindrops are no longer afraid of falling. Added neon rims for bikes. You can switch them on and off with the E key or by pressing left on a gamepad. Improved visuals of the optical cyberware. If Johnny had the cyberware in 2023, he could have just quietly dropped the mini nuke. Fixed an issue where various subtitles with Johnny's lines could get stuck on a screen. Fixed a number of AVs flying through buildings. Environment and levels. Improved the weather system so that its states change in more logical order and when certain conditions are met. Drastically reduced the amount of loot lying around as part of an effort to allow players more breathing room to experience quest scenes and the world itself. Stability and performance, HDD. HDD mode now has an auto detect option. When enabled, it automatically detects which drive the game is installed on, and if necessary, boosts data loading and crowd activity at the expense of crowd variety. Extra loading screens and less detail on the streets when driving fast. Added AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution FSR 1.0 algorithm, replacing contrast adaptive shading CAS on PC. It can be enabled in settings, graphics, resolution scaling. The option is not configurable on consoles. Ooh, interesting. Multiple fixes and improvements related to stability and optimization. PC specific, added a benchmark mode. You can find it in settings, run benchmark. Added a toggle walking option. When playing with the keyboard, it is activated by pressing G during exploration. The key can be rebinded in settings. Enabled transparent ray trace reflections on glossy coating of some cars. Enabled variable ray shading, VRS. This feature boosts rendering performance and visual quality by varying the shading rate for different regions of the frame, available only on compatible hardware. Fix an issue with locked resolution scaling on AMD graphics cards when ray tracing was enabled. Discontinued support for the NVIDIA 700 graphics cards. So those cards are no longer supported. Windows 7 future. Due to technical limitations of non-native DirectX 12 implementation on Windows 7 and the end of or limited support for graphics drivers, game updates will not be supporting Windows 7 after June 15th, 2022. Console specific, added Brazilian Portuguese support for digital copies in Portugal. Something to do with PlayStation and some Xbox stuff there too. Implemented transferring saves from PS4 to PS5. Instructions can be found on their site. Fixed an issue where V's mouth and hair could be visible in first person. Stadia specific, increased the scale of field of view to match other platforms. That's it. Once again, be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. Those are the patch notes. See you out there in the city, and good luck taking on the foes that are out there. And enjoy all the new content. This is going to be great.